Hello. I hope you are doing well, or perhaps better than well. If not, then let's see if we can help out with whatever fucking bullshit I come up with today. Because I have finally come up with another idea of something to do. So, I have, let me reach around this, there are like 50 wires in a way. I have a lot of sticky notes because, not really for a good reason. Some of it is work related, and if that is the case, it is going in the dumpster. But a lot of it is actually story ideas. I like writing my own stories, coming up with sorry, coming up with my own ideas, and I like dabbling in fan fiction. I'm not even gonna lie. That's mostly what I dabble in. So you'll see the effect of that. Oh, they're so white. Okay. So whenever I come up with a new idea, and this is recommended to anyone, this is not just for me, but if you are someone who is involved in really anything sort of creative, as soon as it comes to your mind, you should write it down, because if you're like me, you're going to forget it. Unless you're better than me, then, better safe than sorry. Maybe write it down. So, what we're gonna do, we're going to read through these. Oh, I can tell these sticky notes have been here for a while. There's actually dust, because I have the sticky notes underneath my laptop stand. So you have like where it sits on the table, then you have the angular, then you have where the laptop sits. I had it between where it sits and where the laptop sits, and I sort of just let the pile build up, so now I see there is a lot of dust. So, go me, I'll work on that. That's a future me problem. Current me problem is this. I also have 2 little buckets, and to be frank, that's what inspired this, because my mom had randomly come home with these little buckets, and she was like, oh, when I saw these, I thought of you. And the first thing that came to mind is, they're cute, but what am I gonna do with them? I don't like impulsively buying things just for context. And so these guys have been sitting on a little hanger doing absolutely nothing, and I thought, well, maybe I should store all these sticky notes in there. So some of these are going to be very vague. I have no idea what the intention is. For example, this top one is a wrinkled up one that has, I know 2 of these are song titles, but I don't know. Okay. Which has Undertale, Unjust Life, and New Beginning. Now, Undertale obviously is from the video game. Let's not go over that part. But I always thought that it would... I barely remember it at this point. It's been always thought that it could make for maybe a good scene, because personally when I am writing, I prefer to have go based off of music for a specific scene as a sort of driving effect. And I thought Undertale would be a good one. New Beginning is from Persona 5. Do 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 do. It's something like that. It's just very pleasant to listen to, in my opinion. And again, I thought it was a good one, but I don't recognize Unjust Life. Hold on. Yes, I'm looking this up because this is bothering me. I am assuming this is on my Spotify and that I have liked it. From Angel Beats. You know, that should tell you how much song music I listen to, because I don't recognize half of it. If I heard it, I would probably recognize it immediately, but it's been a while, so I just don't. We're gonna close it out, alright? Just gonna drop it in the bucket. It's a vague idea, so I'll put it in this bucket. Okay. A lot of these I don't have context for. Okay. So this one says, repeating timeline, murder crushing skull, large city, mixture of Mario Odyssey plus New Orleans, huge crawling machine in care on run. Can you tell I did not look at these beforehand? You know, I don't have a lot of ideas of what that could be. Okay. Like, that was a bunch of different ideas, probably. And I should say that a lot of these either come from music or they come from my dreams, which that one was definitely a dream idea. If it is something obscure like that, it's definitely a dream idea. Okay, this one just has cupids. Now, this one I do know about. So, one of the worlds I'm building, it is, I call it under a series of obscurities, which is going to be like a detective series, where there's like different types of people, different races of people that appear because after this event happened, things that shouldn't have been possible suddenly happened and they had no explanation of why. And originally it just affected the environment. So, for example, one that came to mind was a spinning wheel that is able to transport people back and forth without being connected to anything. I know this sounds absolutely lame, but I promise there's a lot more context to it. Cupids are people that have a sort of pinkish skin, darkish hair, maybe some wings, and they have the capability, like the traditional cupids that we at least know, where they can make people fall in love. However, in this universe, there is sort of controversy revolving around it because cupids are supposed to have the ability to pair people up perfectly. However, that isn't always the case, and some people simply disagree with the idea. So, what happens is cupids sort of have like really two big reactions. You have people that are, I guess, I don't want to say desperate, but they want to believe in true love and they want to believe in that sort of chance. And they rely heavily on cupids to do this. Then you have the other side where people think cupids are manipulating people into loving one another. It sort of objectifies them and it leads to a little bit of a complicated time for them, where you're defined more as what you can do rather than who you actually are. And not all cupids actually do the whole making people fall in love, but that also sort of conflicts with that idea and really limits their lives, unfortunately. That's all that was on this one. Trash. That was work. I don't know how a blank sticky pad is going to be any interest to anyone, myself included, so I'll just go back there. Okay, this is another one that falls into this universe that I was talking about, and also one of my obscure dream ones. So we have High School with Lava, Ant Houses, Houses in Ravine, Mushroom. The last one isn't that interesting, I'll be honest, but I do understand the first two. And the first two is actually where I started coming up with this whole Obscurities universe. So, High School with Lava, in my dream, I had gone to this high school, and this one was special in that sometimes the rooms would suddenly fill with lava. Thankfully, this school had developed a safety system to give like a warning when it sensed like heat rising. But it's obviously not perfect, and it was my job to figure out what is going on, which I need to develop for this one. And part of that discovery was with ant houses. Now, ants are quite literally normal ants, but, at least in appearance, what these ants are is they have random subspace places or little houses that, if they want to, they can let you in. It's supposed to be sort of like a safety bubble. Now they can deny you entry, and they can even kill you in it if they determine that you are a danger to everyone else. But it's sort of like a safety hole for anyone who is let in. I have no context on that. Houses in ravine now. I can see it, but I don't remember the whole story behind it. Actually, you go back over here, and you go here, since I know that. Okay. That's trash. That's trash. So I sort of realize I'm talking a little fast. Sorry, I get a little excited about this stuff. Work. Is this all work? No. Gimme. Okay. Sky show. Color change Cupid. We just talked about Cupid, so we know what that one is. Sky show. The main idea that comes to mind is one of the areas is, I don't think it has an official name yet. I would have to look back at my notes. But in a nutshell, it's a gem city, and one of the obscurities is that the sky is like crystal-like, so it has sort of like that diamond effect across it. Or not so much a diamond effect, but I would say more like a prism. That idea hasn't been fully delved into. I also know absolutely nothing of what color change could be referring to. So that would have to be something I look at. Falling elevator going into Earth. Deeper time. I cannot read that word. This is my writing. Special people. I understand what it's going for in a nutshell. So, one of the obscurities takes place in practically the center of the universe, of Earth, kinda. Not really like in the core, it does involve that, but it starts around, what is it called? Whatever that line is that separates the northern hemisphere from the southern hemisphere, it's along that line. And on this line, there is an elevator that you can step into, and it pretty much crash falls. You survive, but it crash falls. And you're led to a near industrial area. But as you walk through, you sort of end up in a different time altogether. normally a time that is related to you, like a town you grew up or your childhood home, something along the lines of that. And this elevator is supposed to have, some people believe, have answers to why these obscurities have come up. Now, this isn't the case, but it's an idea that I had for one of the stories. I believe that's the nuts and goal of it. Nuts and goals. Okay, Lord. Okay. Into the bucket. Okay. This is a note page, actually. Come on. Okay. So, this is for a My Hero Academia fanfiction I was working on. This fanfiction has really nothing to do with My Hero Academia besides for the concepts. It has its own characters, its own stories, and it takes place in America, specifically New York, but as the game gets deeper into the shit, you learn that there's a lot going on, more going on. And this has a list of events. So it has hospital tag, a certain gang versus hero, ×2, Clayman versus Finley, which Finley is one of the main characters. This prom, Finley kidnapping, death game, Doc and Finley get together. Doc is another main character. In fact, he's the POV that you had started. And as Finley begins to open up, you would be able to switch to her POV. Let's see. False wedding, to the death fight. Finley joins Typhoon. Typhoon is the main villain. If you have ever watched The Mentalist, I don't know how many people have, but there is a villain in the whole series revolves around the villain, Red John, who the main protagonist, Jane, is chasing the entire time. That's who Typhoon is based on. Death game happens here, vengeful escape, attempted Iris kidnapping. Maybe Cameron too, both of those are characters. Iris is Finley's best friend, and Cameron is Finley's little brother. Kill one or both. Okay, kill one or both of Finley's parents. Have them introduce and familiarize first. Jesus fuck. I haven't worked on this story in a long ass time. So, and that is very out of order. Yeah, there's some meat on those bones, to say the least. Okay. This is more song names, so for writing. Rushy, which, if you don't know that, then please look it up. That's like a big thing on YouTube. It's supposed to be one of the most complicated piano songs ever. Focus. I don't recognize that one. And of course, New Beginning again. the context behind it. Okay, this is kind of funny. Alright. Movie theater with ocean. Floods if place chatty. Slangery casual like chairs and sofas. You know, so instead of you going shh, sorry, that was a little harsh. Instead of going shush, if people are too chatty, the whole place just floods. That's definitely another that is definitely another dream idea. Okay. Alright. Cooper aliens. Cracks in floor. Past guy in bathroom aquarium. Don't ask me, I have no idea. I know that is a dream one. I remember the dream, but I do not remember the context. Okay. Alright, this one I do know. Husband missing. Vocals for game from husband. So, in one of the first ideas that came to mind, requires a little bit of context where some areas of the world are not as affected by obscurities as others. The farther you are from the epicenter of the world, aka that line that separates the north and south, I know the epicenter is not the name, so hopefully someone knows it, but that's not the name of it. Anyway, the farther you are from that, the less obscurities you witness. And this husband and his wife are from one of the largest, farthest areas. So obscurities are very rare. In fact, if you have an obscurity, it makes a lot of people uncomfortable, and a lot of people who do have an obscurity born onto them or live in an obscurity area are forced to evacuate and leave. The husband left, but we do not know why, aka I have not figured out that part of the story yet. The wife was concerned for him, and she left this area that she was very used to go look for him. She finds a detective and she's like, hey, my husband's missing, can you help please? And the husband is a music player, so it's not uncommon for him to disappear, but for the period of time he has been gone, which is about a week at this point, and he has 2 kids, it's not exactly a good thing. So the idea was, in certain parts of the series, in the game, whenever he is like sort of relevant, you would hear a voice, but it would be so muffled you wouldn't understand him. And this is a concept I want to do across multiple stories, not just one, where the main significant character has a voice in the background and is sort of leading it. And then by the end of the game, that all gets unmuffled, so you would be able to hear the actual lyrics. Okay. I don't know if that's a good idea, but I personally like it. weird school that looks like a mall, but weird, okay? Someone with pink hair came to talk about how to deal with falling in love with your teacher. We were ignoring. Woman stormed out crying. It really makes you wonder what the hell is wrong with me. I don't even know what to do with that. Alright. I'm just putting away. Co-workers. How big? Sorry. Oh wait, I do know. Okay, I remember. Okay. I need to take a note of this, or I will forget. Okay. So, at my job, we were working on something and we were having to work with a bunch of different people on it. And the leader of this, the guy that was sort of making sure that everything was going very smoothly, he was really fucking bossy. Like, very intense, and if you questioned him, like trying to understand what was going on, he would just get frustrated or try to explain it in a different way that nobody understood. And it wasn't just with us, but with his personal co-workers too. It's to the point that my boss, and my boss is not someone you can anger easily. At least not directly. Like, sometimes I'll hear him cursing in his office, but that's it. I've never heard him curse out another person. Like, if he snaps at you, you fucked up. He's never snapped at me or any of us. But he snapped at this man because he was so fucking annoying. So controlling. So I thought that would be a good story idea. Alright. Let's see. Raindrop City, Magic with Weapons, Animal Tattoos, Antique Mall. Okay. So Raindrop City is an obscurity sort of thing that happens in the clouds where each individual raindrop can actually be a certain species of human called a droplet. Okay, they're just raindrops, but droplets. They have their own society, they travel together, etc., etc. Sometimes if it's bad enough, you'll hear screaming. I've wanted to make some sort of parkour game with it, but I'm not that talented. We'll see. Magic with Weapons is an entirely new thing. So, there is a series that is turn-based, which revolves around a character that isn't really a violent character, but he does have a special ability. Now, these special abilities come from a specific material, and not everyone gets it. You only really gain it when you're holding it, and a lot of them are basic, like, oh, you can set things on fire, etc., etc. Some of them affect the body, And the main character has one that increases his strength. So it makes him very versatile, and the whole purpose is to go through the game and try to end the war while not killing anyone. If you kill someone, it actually results in a game over. So it's kind of like Undertale, but taken to an extreme where you just cannot kill anyone. You're allowed different weapons, which all have different effects. For example, or like different turns. It's really complicated, and I would be going on for a while if I were to start discussing it. So, animal tattoos I don't know about really. Antique mall is a horror idea where everything is alive in it, but in order to stay alive, it has to take away the life spirit of anyone who steps inside. That's a completely different thing as well. Killer dust. This is also a pretty vague idea. From what I remember, it is from a dream. Sometimes dust will randomly appear, and it can suffocate you if you're not inside. It's something it's basically caused an apocalypse. I don't have any particulars on it. This is just a bunch of scribble shit. Obscurities. That's the main world I've been working on. I just wrote down the name because it probably don't need it anymore. Okay. Also qualified and praised for beating up my ex so badly. And I have underneath it Lordy. Seth just not good when wanted schedule change. I don't know what's going on here. But I find it weird because I still hang out with my ex. Like, we're homies. I call him my home dog, Red Dog Slice, because I annoys the shit out of him. Like, we didn't leave on bad terms or anything. There were definitely struggles, but so I find it interesting that I had a violent dream bombing. Okay. Playing weapon service. I don't know. I know nothing. This has a picture of half a body of a ballerina pose and what looks like a raccoon. I'll keep it because I think the raccoon is kind of an adorable drawing. Kingdom Hearts, but embracing what take. What? I can't read that word. What blank? Kingdom Heart, but embracing what darkness you have is good, like Persona. Bro, okay. It's an interesting idea, but I don't know. maybe from Okami. Highly industrialized, industrial, well, not aliens. How vague. Story of finding true love. Again, vague. We're starting to get to the end. Two story wreck. Building sister moving. Fence bitch. Near body of water. Now we're starting to really get to the ideas here. I know jack shit. Video game climbing. Slow ass climbers. Salty teacher insulted. At one word, did not get in trouble. This one is a more recent one. All I really remember is that they were trying to put everyone on an even level, but instead it just made it more dangerous because you have slower people climbing, and then you have the quicker people that are trying to get faster. But you know, it's like driving 60 on a 70 mile per hour. Sorry, that was really awkward to say. 60 on a 70 speed limit highway. It's dangerous and stupid. I don't know what I could do with that out, though. Big mall that lined with tunnels, in tunnel with walls, cave with mask, alone letters, threatening float. This is like the second thing with walls. I don't know why, and I don't know anything. Big pool wish fish. Okay, that's a stack of sticky notes. I can come back. Okay, we just have 3 more. Rain to snow to rain quick. No context. Okay. And then guess this. Rifle. So this is a Pokemon Black and White thing. I don't know what the actual aim with this is, but I will say Pokemon Black and White and Black and White 2 are two of my all-time favorite games. If you've never played them and you're like, I want to keep, like, Pokemon looks interesting, but it looks like shit, I recommend those 2 games highly. Good story, good graphics, like, mwah, mwah, mwah. I love it, genuinely. Alright. And the last one. I can't believe it took me 45 minutes to get here. So, garage remote, attachable limbs, superior human, mask wig for Mary's husband. Okay. This is for my Hero Academia. My Hero Academia story. So, the garage remote idea is pretty much someone can operate anything that operates under radio signals as well as they can capture a signal. If you've ever programmed like a garage opener from your car, you know what I'm talking about. The main reason that came to mind is I really wanted someone that has a gun on their heels like Bayonetta that can shoot people, but I don't know how Bayonetta's shoes work. So that was my idea for that. It gets triggered by a radio signal that the quirk user can have. Attachable limbs, I don't have a lot of ideas on that. Superior human, this was a whole character named Rose. Pretty much Rose was more intelligent, faster, stronger. Basically her whole quirk is just being a better human. And funny enough, her whole story is that in this world, in this area, she's part of a group of vigilantes that were inspired by the Power Rangers. And these Power Rangers have been going on for generations, and they've always been very exclusive, but Rose has been trying to separate from that, and it's been causing issues between her, who is the Red Ranger, thus the leader, and the rest of the Rangers she's supposed to be leading. She also just struggles with that kind of stuff. I'm trying to think of how to explain. Like, she grew up being like the perfect person, like all A's, etc., etc. And let's just say that's never good for mental health. And finally, let's quick for Mary's husband. Mary is Finley's assistant, and her husband is one of the top heroes in New York. And pretty much, for whatever mask he's wearing, he gains that ability. He has to be wearing the mask, otherwise he's quirkless. So, for example, if he's wearing like a Spider-Man mask, he has the abilities of Spider-Man, depending on, I guess, what version of Spider-Man he's wearing. Stuff like that. That hasn't been fully thought out now, as I'm not really into my Hero Academia anymore, so. So, that was the last sticky note. I must say, I have been disturbed and enlightened by what has come out of my mind. But, you know, I hope it at least encourages someone out there that even if you come up with an absolute bonkers of an idea, it could be something good, and you should write it down. So, oh sorry, I didn't mean to rock the table. So, yeah, I guess those buckets are going right back where they belong, but at least they're being used for something. And my desk looks a little bit cleaner, so yay! But yeah, I don't have anything else. So, with that, whatever time of the day it may be, I hope you have a good rest of the day, and that you sleep good tonight. Bye bye.